Paul Kearns. I think we're ready for your talk if you're ready to start.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sally. Let me say thank you to Heidi as well for having provided me with a few minutes to talk about the Fermi Lab Director Search. I'm Paul Kearns, the Director at Argonne. I have the privilege, really the honor of serving as the chair of the search committee. I've got I would say there are several members of the search committee actually participating in today's conversation. I see as really interested in the particle physics community broadly, and also have Gail Maloney here and Tracy Quinn assisting with the search as well. So I may ask some of the other search committees members that are participating in the conversation to help with questions. So just a heads up in that regard. So looking forward to the dialogue. We've been having a fairly active discussion with several stakeholders, I would say, interested stakeholders on the search, and really pleased that we can do the same here today. So next slide, please, Gail. Yes, we have really a very distinguished, thoughtful, and really active search committee. We have a steering committee, which consists of, as committee leadership, both myself and Mark Thompson, who's the incoming director at CERN, as the vice chair. Really appreciate Mark's expertise in particle physics and also his knowledge of the international community in this regard. We have 4 board members from FFDG: Jack Anderson, who I believe you're going to hear from a bit later, John Mester, Cherry Murray, and Tracy Quinn, I mentioned earlier. And then we have Gail supporting the committee. We're working with Opus Partners as the search firm. The next slide, please, in terms of the rest of the committee members, the additional committee members. Very distinguished group of scientific leaders, and also current and former employees at Fermilab, both from the US, but also the international community shown here. I won't read down through the list, but I think you'll recognize many of these names. It's been wonderful, really, to have this broad representation, very active discussion. Really appreciate the experience that the search committee brings and the working knowledge they bring of certainly the high energy physics community, but also Fermilab and really its mission and the challenges it faces as well. So really pleased to have, again, just an outstanding committee working with us as we seek to identify a couple of candidates for consideration by the FFDG chair, Paul Avosados, University of Chicago president, along with the Department of Energy for the role. So please, next slide, which is a brief, there we go. Notional process and timeline is shown here. The committee's been active for quite some time at this point, and we're really in the June, July, and August blocks of activity here, I would say. We have been very active in terms of the conversation around the job description, key attributes or really strengths that we're looking for in the next director at Fermilab, as well as reaching out broadly and having conversation with various stakeholders from across the community that have an interest in the high energy physics as well as in Fermilab itself. We do have as well an active discussion ongoing with sourcing of candidates by the committee members, the steering committee members, and it's been a great conversation, a lot of interest in the role, and we're in the process of teeing up the initial round of interviews here this weekend with an exciting list of potential candidates. So we're pleased by that response and looking forward to those discussions, which will begin this weekend. And then in the next phase of the search is really once we get beyond the initial round of interviews, is doing a bit of a down select and then having finalist interviews probably third week, fourth week in August is the current timeline there. The committee has been asked to provide, as I said earlier, FFDG President Paul Avosados, really a short list of recommended candidates for his consideration and then discussion with DOE, socialization with DOE through the fall, and then the final selection probably in the October, November timeframe, and then Last slide here indicates the new laboratory director would start in December and January, and that's probably more appropriate to say would be identified, and then depending upon their current assignment and where they might be coming from, it might occur at that time, or it might take a little longer before the new lab director is able to take up the role. So I want to make sure we're being respectful in that way, and that stakeholders know it might be a little beyond that, given where the individual might be coming from. So next slide really is a list of the stakeholder engagement activities that we've had underway. You can see certainly ongoing is outreach to the Department of Energy, certainly the Fermi site office, certainly the Department of Energy broadly, the Office of Science, and also High Energy Physics. It's good to see Gina here today. And then we've been really in a series of conversation on a fairly regular basis since really the middle of May, just yesterday with the US Muon Collider community, and today's conversation is listed the most recent one. I got to participate on the community advisory board last week, a very interested set of stakeholders close by, neighbors of the laboratory, and certainly I was impressed with their working knowledge of activities at the lab and the significance of the decision that we're attempting to help FFDG and the department make in terms of the next laboratory director. So really exciting in that way to me. These conversations have really been very rich. We've appreciated people being willing to share, and also help answer a few questions for us, and also provide some additional insights and additional thoughts that we can incorporate into our thinking as we consider candidates and provide that recommendation, as I mentioned earlier. We've got a next slide is really a set of expectations, bit of ground rules for how these conversations have been really conducted. Certainly candid but constructive feedback, being respectful of one another, listening, taking turns, right? Allowing everyone to express themselves, avoid person-specific references. So no pointing fingers, but really provide the information and feedback you like in a very constructive, helpful way. And then we ask folks to really share forward-looking information that really can be used to help us as we, again, evaluate candidates. And certainly the feedback is being kept in confidence, and certainly ask folks if they're participating virtually to turn their cameras on so we can have a really active discussion. So a few expectations. The next slide is really on the questions that really form a bit of a basis for the conversation. The conversations have started here and moved in many different directions in terms of things that people felt appropriate to share or really wanted to ask us about as well. So short-term and long-term priorities for the next directors. The first question focused on that. Second question, the most significant issue for the next director to address, or the greatest challenge the director would face. Question on most critical characteristics, qualities needed for the next laboratory director. And then the last one is open-ended. Anything you'd like to really share with the search committee or feel we should know. So happy to really kind of have that conversation here live. I will say, Gail maybe moved out to the Fermilab Director search website. So if you haven't had the opportunity, I would encourage you to perhaps right now, even if you'd like, move to the website page and read some additional information. Certainly the position descriptions there, the attributes we're looking for, and a bit of a discussion about the search, the search process, as well as the stakeholder interactions we've had. So happy to take questions at this point, Sally. So quick rundown of what we're up to.
Thank you very much, Paul. I don't see any questions in the live document, but we're open for questions on the Q&A or the chat through Zoom. Going once, going twice.
Heidi's got her hand up.
Okay.
That's fair.
Please, Heidi. Comment, question, Heidi?
Okay. So, having done similar searches before, I know that there are significant confidentiality issues in that good candidates won't even talk to you if they know it's going to be public. I was just going to wonder if through the email channel at Fermilab, how many people actually responded to that channel? Is how much input have you gotten
Mm.
through the Fermilab
Uh-huh.
channel? Do you think it's effective?
Let me ask Tracy or Gail to respond to that question directly. They probably have a better sense as to how.
Hi, Heidi. Thanks. That's a great question. So it's actually worked very well. We've received a lot of feedback. It, um, it's been very candid. We've received some names of individuals, but we've also received a lot of feedback about what the lab director, the next lab director, should be contemplating. And so my sense has been it's worked really, really well. I'd say maybe 25 to 30 responses have come in about the position overall. And then I'd say another 10 or so names have been raised.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that response. And thanks to the committee. This is a very, very strong committee you have looking here.
Paul, there's a question that came in from Stephen Gottlieb, which is,
Okay.
what does the committee think is the greatest challenge for the new director?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And this is one we've asked often and discussed often, but really, there are 4 critical leadership capabilities that we're focused on. And the very first one is visionary, impactful leadership. So that's really essential, we believe, for this role. Certainly the ability to pull the Fermilab community together and along, right, as they really work towards some very significant scientific accomplishment, but also work to improve the daily operations of the laboratory, really essential. So that ability to really build momentum, bring the team along with you and inspire them really is critical in that way. The second one is really on execution and driving results. And so not a surprise, right, given the big challenges, the big projects underway at Fermilab with LBNF Dune and PIP2 and like. And so really being able to deliver is really a key component here. Adaptability, resilience, and change management is the third one. It's really part of the times, right? Our ability to really adjust to changing priorities, different leaders, and really being resilient and driving the needed change in terms of culture at Fermilab is often highlighted in this regard. And the last one we really are trying to emphasize is decision making. Certainly needs to be thoughtful. It needs to be well considered. Also needs to be inspiring in terms of how decisions are made and the outcome, but it also needs to be done in a timely way, very effectively. So lots of challenges, I would say. It's really a big job, a tough job. I have the honor of serving as the director at Argonne, and so I have some sense of really the challenge. But I think Fermilab, with the very active engagement with the high energy physics community and that role of serving as a bit of a spokesperson for the community, really makes it even more challenging.
There's a question from Sarah Eno. Says, I think you said you are interviewing candidates. Can you say if any of them are from outside high energy physics?
No, I don't believe so. So I'm not confident in that the list that the candidates we're currently interviewing will be all that we interview, but currently they're all members of the high energy physics.
Are there any other questions or comments from the community? I see no hands raised. So Paul, unless you have any further remarks, we might go on to, now something came up. Sarah says that there is a new comment in the
Tricia
doc.
Vale asked a question. Can you share how many people are going to be interviewed?
No, I don't think we know right now. So We've got work to do. We've got a good start, I would say, and we're talking to a few additional candidates that we'd like to see express interest in the role. So I think it would be inappropriate for me to provide that at this point.
But maybe I could just ask, I mean, presumably it's sort of a two-stage process as you do preliminary interviews and then you do final interviews.
Yes. Mhm.
Thanks again,